much you say we're getting paid for this?
$5 an hour?
$5 whole dollars?
Ah, simpler times. Anyway, today's gonna be kind of weird because if you're watching this on YouTube, I'm already at Toy Fair checking out the new stuff. Things that I can't talk about because as I'm recording this, it's Thursday. Friday, I gotta jump on a plane, get to New York, and everything else. So let's look at this as kind of a palate cleanser, get this week's news out of the way, and then at some point we'll come back and talk about the new stuff. Because I'm Robo, this here's the rewind. All right, we're gonna swing back around to last week's Yolopark Transformers AMK Pro Series G1 model kit news. There I talked about the reissues of Megatron and Optimus Prime with less accessories, no die-cast, no electronics, and less paint apps. I know that sounds like a downside, but it makes them so clean, so Generation 1, so cartoony. Tempting enough for me to come back around because the upside is that the 2-pack is the same price as a single release of Optimus Prime and Megatron when they had the die-cast and the extra paints and the electronics and everything. It wasn't until after the last rewind that I noticed that there's also single releases of these re-releases on Big Bad Toy Store. Same version as the 2-packs, just slightly higher in price at $40 a pop, but still cheaper than the original releases. The 2-pack is still the better deal, but if you're not wanting one or the other, there's singles available. The big talking point last week was size though, and I forgot to mention it because I did notice that BBTS had them listed at 5 some odd inches tall, which is shorter than the original 7.87 inches. That seems to be a typo because Bionic Kasai in the Patreon chat sent over pictures showing that the new is the same size as the old. Plus the boxes in all the solicitations show 20 centimeters, which is 7.87 inches. So there's that too. Same molds, same parts and pieces, same articulation, different materials, different finishes. Papa John's. He also points out that the reissue Megatron's eyes are now painted because if you don't have the LED lights on, it has kind of that dead look. Unfortunately, that's the case for Optimus. But the head still comes apart, so you can pull that assembly out, slap some paint on the eyes, put it back together, boom, done. These are getting more and more tempting. Best of all, these are in stock for shipping right now, unlike my Yolopark Transformers AMK Pro Series Generation 1 Starscream model kit. I still haven't seen that. And Bionic Kasai also sent a picture, and that looks good. Either way, link is in the description. I was gonna say slight update for LooseCollector's The Crypt, Sasquatch vs. Yeti, but it's a big update. First, we saw the big foot, showing that it will be a large figure. But at the same time, it's Sasquatch, it's Bigfoot. Maybe the feet are huge and it's a little itty bitty body on top. That thought didn't last long because next was this picture showing it's gonna be fierce. Early this week, we got a glimpse of the paint and it's getting harder and harder to wait. The orangey brown fading to the reds at the edges, the face popping out from the fur. Since Yeti is in the name, hopefully we'll see some snow teases soon. More than that, I need to see proportions. I need to see exact size, and that's exactly what happened this morning. Holy shit. I know it says not final sculpt, but I am already picturing a custom Marvel Sasquatch head on this body. It looks like the layers in the neck shift around for movement, but I'm wondering if you can take one out to give it that Walter Lankowski head down in the shoulders feel. The wheels, they're a-turning. That's what happens when you show good toys. This picture also shows that there is an alternate neutral head, so options, that's always good. Finally, the post mentions a third mystery figure on this base, and what could it be now? So we're not done with teases, but the weight's killing me. Come on. Another tease this week was the Super 7 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Ultimates 2003 Shredder. At least that's what I'm reading it is, and I remember them showing the Turtles back at San Diego Comic-Con. I'm not familiar with 2003 Turtles. I don't know what that sword is, but I know that's Shredder's arm. That's hard to miss. This was silhouetted at a panel at last year's SDCC, along with Casey and Splinter and somebody else. Was it a foot soldier? Either way, it may be revealed at this weekend's Toy Fair. or today's Toy Fair, yesterday's Toy Fair, depending on when you watch this. Maybe it's already been shown. Maybe it hasn't. Maybe it won't be. Maybe they're holding off for summer. I don't know. If I had those kind of powers, do you think I would be standing here making toy videos? I'd be out winning the lottery. Well, okay, I'd still be making toy videos because I love this, but I'd have a lot more toys. For some information we've been waiting for, the Four Horsemen debuted their big-ass dragon at last year's Legends Con, and since then we've all been wondering, how much? This week they announced that the crowdfund for Beathir will start, I want to get this right, next Friday, March 7th, and run for 1 month with a price of $550 plus tax and shipping. I want to make sure that's on there. And that's what a lot of us were predicting, I think. But I wasn't factoring in shipping. That may be a huge chunk of cash for a huge chunk of plastic. The funding point will be 2,000 units sold with stretch goals announced over the course of the next week. So, whew, next Friday is going to be a biggie. I've said several times since Legends Con that my wife has already committed us to this. She said she will clean off the dining room table, and that's where it will be displayed. So maybe I do need to go buy some lottery tickets. Speaking of beastie types, Savage Crucible has announced their con exclusive for 2025, and it is the Shield of Dazera. You ever wonder where this whole naming thing's gonna be in 50 years? Hell, at this speed, 10, maybe 5. Throughout the ages, creative people have had to come up with titles to name their fantasy characters, and I feel like we're in that smash letters and apostrophes and hyphens together point. How long does that last? Are we gonna soon just be making noises? But that's not to take focus away from the kick-ass figure, and the name does sound cool, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. Dazera? Dazara? Diziera? It's just something that comes to my brain, well, since I have to recite word salads on a weekly basis. As if on cue, let's jump to the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse offerings this week. No sooner than I had finished recording the last rewind where I talked about the Fear Gas Batman from Batman Begins just being a head swap with the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Batman Begins that hadn't went up for pre-order yet. That very same pre-order went live on most online retailers. And it looks good. The body, the head, the cape, even the proportions. But then there's the neck. And you know where I'm going with this. Begins is known for the lack of neck movement, looking all like a Dairy Queen dipped cone. So when I see an obvious break like that, I think Dark Knight or Rises when he gets a new helmet situation. I'm definitely not one to rally for less articulation, but I would have loved to seen the head and shoulders be one piece here, because that's what it looks like in the movie. And guess what? I'm gonna say the exact same thing about the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Batman 89 Batman that went up for pre-order at the same time. It's actually iconic at how little movement this cowl should get, so that break at the jawline is just wrong, so wrong. I know, it's a little thing to gripe about, but it jumps out at me. I will say that getting cloth capes at a $22.99 price point is pretty sweet. I mean, I'm getting kind of jealous at all the cool capes that the DC characters are getting, because they're improving. They're getting wired, they're getting posable, and they look pretty good both up and down. Take heed, other toy companies. But it's not all caped Crusader. There's also the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse, Justice League versus Monsterverse, Flash versus Titano. Yep, that's the same Kong figure from this same series with the same lack of articulation. I was just griping about too much articulation, and now it's like, oh, this doesn't have enough articulation. I get it. I know, I can hear myself. You don't have to point it out. To me, less articulation in those Batman figures would improve them, whereas more articulation would improve this. Either way, what catches my eye more here is the bio for Titano, so get ready for some Robo. Sent on a mission to space, Toto the chimpanzee was exposed to uranium and kryptonite-infused radiation. I got to that part and I already thought, this sounds like a very old, cheesy, classic bio. When he returned to Earth, Toto grew larger than any known dinosaur, which is an odd thing to point out because, I mean, was it way back in the dinosaur times, or was it thing? And gained deadly kryptonite vision. Does that mean he can see kryptonite, or does he shoot kryptonite? Lois Lane renamed him Titano, and along with Superman captured the Colossal Ape before he could cause any catastrophic calamities. Again, that old school cheesiness that I didn't realize was actually old school cheesiness until I looked up and saw that his first appearance was in Superman 127, February 4th, 1959. That makes total sense. Although I've never heard of Titano, so even though I like the bio, it's not enough for me to go out and actually get this. But I can look at the pictures and go, okay, the green, the cybernetics, that's pretty nice, but what else we got? Since we're swimming around in the DC universe, the first of the monthly Medicom MAFEX offerings is Aquaman in the green and gold from Lost Kingdom. I'll admit, at first glance, I thought this was just a reissue of the first Aquaman, maybe with some tweaks and a new head with that wavy hair going up, but no, this is an all-new sculpt. Very similar to the armor from the first movie, but the deeper you dig, the more differences you see. The scales on the shirt are bigger. The hip plates have more layers, the seaweed boot tops have less separation. Most importantly, the crotch seems to be quite a bit larger for swimming purposes. Rudder. I absolutely love the twirling staff whirlpool effect though. That almost gets me because I skipped the first movie version. Should I get this one? Or maybe I'm passing, because if I were to choose one of this month's Medicom MAFEX offerings, you would think it would be the Star Wars Obi-Wan Kenobi series Darth Vader. But no, oddly. And it's nothing to do with the figure itself. I think I have finally hit the burnout point for Darth Vader's in my collection. While I like the look of this with Anakin peeking out of the mask and the swappable battle damage parts, I don't think it changes things up enough for me to take this for a test spin, because that's what I would be doing. Is this better than what I already have? Yes or no? The soft goods do look better than the last SH Figure Arts though, but I've already replaced those. And then when it comes to the MAFEX body, their knees and elbows are always nicer. They don't break the further you go. It's nice and sleek. The sculpt looks good because it is all new sculpt. They've added that underrobe, whereas it was plastic before. So they had to have resculpted it to put it under there. Previous MAFEX Vaders have been the top of the heap, at least until another offering came along and knocked it down. And that's what's been happening. I feel that way with Spider-Man. I feel that way with Iron Man. I'm getting there with Captain America's and Wolverine's, unless it's different versions. But with Darth Vader, it seems to be a constant, here's one just a little bit better. And then here's another one just a little bit better. And so forth. I went off the ride. Not with Star Wars, just with Darth Vader's. Now, if a Black Series comes along, it's cheap enough for me to go, okay, I'll give it a shot. But at $90? No. Before shipping? Nah. And I know what you're saying. I know what you're about to type. Oh, it's Robo. It's a Star Wars figure. He'll come along and get it eventually. No, I've been pretty good about passing and staying past. Is that the correct term? Whatever. No, at this point, I'm more interested in upgrades for figures that really, really, really need it, or adding unique characters to the display. Thankfully, Hasbro had a Star Wars fan stream this week. Nothing earth-shattering, just a little something for everyone. But first, I wanted to compliment the fan stream on having a lot more flow than it has in a while. They split the teams up into their specialties instead of having just one big, here's vintage and Black Series and back to vintage and over to role play and that the barrel roll? Why was I gonna say barrel roll? Pipeline. Yeah. It just felt a whole lot more natural, had some flow, so keep that up. For the Black Series reveals, because that's all I'm interested in, I'm gonna take them out of order and talk about them in my level of interest, starting with the Walmart exclusive Revenge of the Sith Count Dooku, Kit Fisto, and R2-D2. Yes, these are all just reissues in fancy throwback nostalgia tug packaging. As I was watching, I was like, why? And that was me saying that because I thought, well, isn't Count Dooku and Kit Fisto and R2-D2 pretty easy to get? Hell, R2-D2 just came out a year or so ago, right? But then I went looking for comparison pictures. to see if there were any upgrades to the figures themselves and realized that they are fairly high on the secondary market. I'm talking $50, $60. And so it's not outrageous, but it's a little more than you want to pay for a figure that originally cost $25. So hey, it makes sense, especially for newer collectors. If you don't have these, here you go. Because we're getting more prequel Jedi, why not reissue Kit Fisto? And I may try to snag Dooku because the photo reel may be upgraded, may be updated. Plus, it's the best 1/12 scale Dooku you can get. Yes, this is better than the SHF, which may be the only two 1/12 scale Dookus, but you know the point I'm trying to make. And then R2-D2 should always be available. It's a main character. When people think Star Wars, no matter how casual of a fan you are, the droids are in that picture. And adding the rocket swap out parts from the Target R5D4, okay, that's a little goodness, that's a little upgrade. But if you're mad that they're reissues, consider this. These are Walmart exclusive during CollectorCon. And yes, every time I bring that up, well, Walmart has gotten better with their exclusives, and I will admit that the last few, in fact, I got another one of these for $5, and the Professor X and the G.I. Joe exclusive, but that's not always the case. That doesn't happen every time. You never know. Would you rather have new, unique characters be Walmart exclusive, or the reissues in fancy packaging? Good exclusives, good for those who missed out, easy to pass up if you don't need them. Because the main line is going to get unique characters, well, after one redo. Director Krennic is branded as Andor. We saw him in the trailer last week. But man, does this not feel like a holdout from those Rogue One upgrades we got a few years back. I happily bought those because they looked better. They spruced up my shelf, but I sat around waiting for Krennic thinking, well, they did everyone else. Where's Krennic? Well, I'll just grab this custom painted head off eBay. And then I know a lot of people grab the Marvel Legends Talos to do some swapping, do an upgrade, and then bam! It's almost like it's planned really far in advance. Almost like, hey, we're gonna do this. Oh no, there's a possibility, there's a slim chance he may come back. Let's wait for that. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. That's what it feels like. Because there's also the Sinar test pilot Cassian, also from the next season of Andor. I really like this, both as Cassian and a troop builder. It doesn't hurt that the helmet is in one of my favorite styles, the TIE Fighter pilot. It's not the same, but it's similar. But those hoses placed like that around to the back and plugging into the helmet itself, I don't know why that throws me off. And get ready, because it's another Batman neck situation. Now, I am no scientist when it comes to the Star Wars universe, where there's the Force and hyperdrives and laser guns, but what good does the hoses running from the front to the back do? Aren't you feeding the air right back into your headspace? There's a little box back there, and again, it's Star Wars. It could be a micro air processor or something, and I'd be, okay, that's cool. But at the moment, it just doesn't look right because I'm used to those hoses going down to chest boxes or the back, somewhere down on the body, something bigger, something retro-ish. That's how I like my Star Wars, a little bit retro. No, I think this was done like this specifically to have a removable helmet because they knew it was going to be Cassian. Even the show was probably like, well, thinking about the toys, we need to make it easier to remove the helmet. Or hell, maybe not. Maybe I'm just yakking about toys on the internet. Did you have something better to do? I do like the hoses running down and under a lot more than the display model they showed on the stream, where the hoses go up and over the ears. No, thank you. Maybe that's option in the show for the helmet itself, but nope, that's not for me. Is that enough about this Cassian? Oh no, something else that just popped in my brain. If I army build pilots where I leave the helmets on, I have Cassian heads to upgrade previous figures. Dang it. I just talked myself into a couple. Because I can just stick a random head on there. It's just holding the helmet up. Moving on, I was Praetorian'd out because for the sequel figures, I bought the whole crew, even the doubles. And by the time I was done, here's a bunch of red bodies that look very, very much the same, except for the helmets and the weapons. Whee! No, it makes for a cool display, but I think I like this armor better. One, because I don't have any, and two, I only need 3 to finish out that crew. I will have to throw some bright pink paint onto the blades and the segments. They said something during the stream about having some color in places where you have to turn just right, but I want full-on glow. Pow! But Hasbro, come here. Let me talk to you one-on-one, just us, everybody. Stop editing out the knee joints in the promo pictures. Now, I've said many times in the past, I don't care about peg holes. Visible, invisible, either way, I'm good. But that just ain't right. Don't do that. Especially when you're on the stream rotating the figures and showing that they have peg holes in the knees. And then look at the promo pics and where'd those holes go? Why? Why? That's it. I don't need to explain myself. Don't do it. Finally, Moff Gideon looks amazing. I can't help it. I love armored up dudes. I like the head sculpt. I like that the helmet doesn't look huge when it's put on. Yes, you can see a little skin under there, but I'm a big proponent of swappable heads. I don't want big helmets, big buckets over heads, but Gideon works out because there's not a lot of hair. It's flat, so there's nothing to push the helmet up and away and out. So I'm okay in this case, but I would love for them to move to swappable heads. I think more than anything though, I just love the Batman 66 Batmobile color scheme. Oh, the black with the red pinstripes. That looks good. The cape does fall flat, just lifeless, hanging off the back. So that may be a replacement piece. But I think I'm more than happy to get this one instead of the SH Figuarts that's been bouncing around the Bandai offices for the past 2 years. Are they waiting for Hasbro to make theirs first before they solicit it? Or is this just gone to the drawer with all the rest of the SHF Star Wars prototypes? The standard wave goes up for pre-order next week, March 5th, and then the Walmart Collector Con exclusives is March 13th. I think that's what they said, March 13th? That's a couple weeks away. Sticking with Hasbro, we already saw the reveals for the Marvel Legends Spider-Man Gamerverse wave last week during a fan stream, but pre-orders went live this week. That means pretty promo pictures. Although I don't really have any more to say this week than I did last week, other than link is in the description. Go ahead, go down, click it. I do appreciate the people who actually played Spider-Man 2 telling me that some of the costumes have color options, but that doesn't change the fact that I still would have loved to seen the anti-venom suit in the white base and black details. That's the way my father did it. That's the way his father did it. His father before him. No. The blue and silver does look good. It's just an oddball choice in a wave full of, well, I don't want to say main looks. Again, I haven't played the game, but they seem way more up the scale than blue and silver anti-venom. Maybe they didn't want just the opposite of the symbiote suit from the game, which I really like. Again, this is one of my favorite color schemes when it comes to Spider-Man costumes. Black and white and black, that works for anything, not just Spider-Man's, but it's extra good on Spider-Man's. But don't get me wrong, I also love the red and blue, and Miles sporting the updated suit that is similar to Parker's suit from the first game, that's pretty sweet too. I'm just now realizing that the added white to the costume ties up to the eyes, which have always been white. So it's not as jarring as originally thought. In fact, that's kind of eases into that transition of adding an extra color to the suit itself. The Bariqua suit also looks good, and it's another alternate costume that gets unique sculpting that can't be used anywhere else. Hey, they go all out for Spider-Man's. I'm still in for the Brooklyn 2099 suit though. I just love that stealthy, ninja, slightly military, and I made the Snake Eyes comment last week, but now I'm thinking this may just make it over to the G.I. Joe Classified series shelf. Finally, Black Cat rounds out the wave, breaks up the sausage fest. I locked this one in too, but not to keep as Felicia. Again, last week I mentioned Hepzibah looking for a base body. It may be more of an original design, but it'll work for now until I can come up with something a bit more accurate to the or hey Hasbro, Hepzibah. Really what it comes down to is that if you're into video games and Spider-Man 2, here you go. If not, pass on by. Like I always say, there's more Marvel Legends for you to buy. There's no reason to just sit here and scream at this. Or you can fudge what you want into your current display, your comic book display, especially when it comes to the Gamerverse Venom, who looks so good. Just, we are Venom. I really like that closed mouth and that tendril arm. I was gonna pass, but that's getting harder to do the more I look. Dang it. But that's a decision for a later date. I have more pressing matters. Like my favorite reveal from Hasbro this week, the San Diego Comic-Con exclusive G.I. Joe Classified Series Cold Slither set. Now this is my favorite vibe when it comes to G.I. Joe. That silly, off-the-wall, don't take themselves too seriously cartoon G.I. Joe vibe. It's big dumb fun and it is a perfect exclusive. It straddles that line of don't need it all and gotta have. This bounces between completely unnecessary, completely necessary, and I don't even know why this thing exists. If you like this, you're dumb and quit disagreeing about me with my hot toy takes. It's characters we already have in the main line, just with different looks and accessories. On Hasbro's end, it's new overlays and heads on blank bodies. Oh, and new molds for a guitar, a keytar, a bass, and drums, all with flashy paint jobs. Those aren't quite accurate to the episode. In fact, it was an actual keyboard instead of a keytar, wasn't it? But hey, it's Classified Series. They update, they upgrade. It's so stupid, and I love it, and I must have it. But it's also dangerous because it gets me wish listing. I need Firefly and Cobra Commander in disguise. I need Scarlet, Lady J, and CoverGirl in their music fan looks. But more than anything, and I know this is a different episode, but I think this opens the door for Snake Eyes and Shipwreck in their music gear. And yes, Polly and Timber better be included too. Hopefully we find out more about this set very soon because again, Toy Fair this weekend, today, yesterday, last weekend, whenever you're watching this. And that's all for this week. Up until Thursday. That's all I got. We'll swing back around. As always, special thanks to the Patreon, the No-Bots, for, well, this week for helping me out with the Optimus Prime and Megatron pictures. I guess I'll talk about Yolopark Transformers AMK Pro Series Generation 1 model kits again. I also got some comments of, hey, why don't you talk about real Transformers, not these non-transforming Transformers? Well, I don't talk about transforming Transformers because I can't keep up. I have no interest in anything beyond G1, and not that the Hasbro Transformers look bad or anything. I just don't know what I'm talking about half the time, which is kind of my motto around here, but it gets just, and I don't know about this, and I don't know about this, the G2, Beast Wars, the movie stuff. I haven't even seen the last few live action movies. Also, I just like non-transforming Transformers more because I'm in it for the robots. And I like them without all the stuff hanging off of them or the extra joints and everything just to get them to transform. I talk about what I want to talk about. If that makes you mad, get in line. I mean, the Yolopark model kits are real Transformers. There's Transformers right on the box and Hasbro, licensed. Real. For oddball pickups this week, I did go back and get this dang Power Sword off Big Bad Toy Store. I had the purple, and I showed it on here a few weeks back, a few months back maybe. Look at that silver. It's nice and shiny. Plus they added some paint overspray right here, a little shading, kind of spruces it up. And yes, it is foam, but it is solid. It's not bad for what it is. I'm not gonna go out and do some actual battle with it, but it'll look pretty dang sweet hanging on the wall, especially with the Skeletor sword. Now, do I need Faker? How do you display 3 swords? Right now I'm thinking I can cross the 2 somehow, but with 3, they'd have to be up and down, right? Perfect world, they would be able to split down the middle and you could change out the halves. And the attachment would be more than just a slightly round tab, which I know it's a flat thing. Anyway, I'm just rambling at this point. That's enough fun, right? Let's get to some serious Toy Fair stuff, some coverage, some news. We gotta buckle down, do the reporter thing. Nah, we'll find a way to talk about toys. I don't know if I'm doing live stream or doing a video or what, but we'll see. It's all up in the air, just how I like it. We'll have some fun. Isn't that the goal every week?